Some time back, Diane and I went to hear our younger daughter, Darcy, preach. She has a Master of Divinity from the Baptist Theological Seminary in Richmond and a Master of Science in Patient Counseling from Virginia Commonwealth University. She currently serves, as a hospice chaplain in Noonan, Georgia. Can you tell we're proud of her? I must say, when I grow up, I want to be as insightful in terms of scripture and theology as Darcy is. Plus, she's a superb preacher. She started her sermon with these words. It was Easter Sunday, and I was in seminary. That morning, I made my way to the church I'd been attending for the past year since I moved to Richmond, Virginia. It was a rather prominent church in the area, the kind of church that people who did not go to church often were drawn to on Easter and Christmas in order to make contact with their religious roots. Church was already packed. When I arrived at my usual time, I wedged myself onto a pew and waited for the service to begin. In the quiet buzz of conversation happening around me, I heard a father and his kindergarten-aged daughter behind me. She was bouncing around and allowing everything that her eyes saw to flow out of her mouth. Look at that pretty window, Daddy. Who's that person, Daddy? These seats are hard, Daddy. It was clear that this was a new place and occasion for her, with only the joy, excitement, and anticipation of a child heading to see her favorite princess at Disney World. Finally, the child turned to her father and said, Daddy, do you think we're going to see Jesus today? Do you think we'll see Jesus today? That's the question. Do you think we'll see Jesus? And of course, the answer is all depends. It's Sunday, which for the Jews is the equivalent of our Monday. The weekend is over. It's time to get back to normal, whatever normal is. But with this kind of loss, things will never be quite the same again, will they? Most of us in this room know what it's like to experience the loss of a loved one. And then we have to get back to begin to living in the world with a hole in that world because of the absence of the one we love so much. Normal's never the same again, is it? As these two walk toward Emmaus, there's a great heaviness between them, the kind that comes in the midst of darkness and grief. Words are inadequate to describe it. Many of you have been there. Some of you may be there now. Words fail. There are no words. No longer are we 3 years old and mama or daddy can kiss our boo-boo, put a Band-Aid on it, and it's okay. Because the pain is much deeper than that. Perhaps I've told you, but one Saturday evening in Fayetteville, Arkansas, we returned with the youth group from a conference. As we unloaded, Cotton and Rosanna Presley pulled me aside and into the church and said, while you were gone, Cade's parents, Cade was a youth, Cade's parents went into the garage, closed all the doors, rolled down the windows, started the engine in their car, and died together. We'll be over as soon as we get all the youth headed home, I said. Rodney, our new minister of youth, a sophomore in college, his first ministry position, looked at me with anxiety and fear. What are we going to say when we get there? We're going to sit with Cade and cry. There were no words. There were no words. Words are inadequate. They're useless at a time like this. The pain is deep that Sunday as the two walked toward Emmaus. Oh, they talk, there are words exchanged between them, but those words fail to express fully what they've experienced over the last few days. They're afraid that their life with this prophet hasn't amounted to much. It's difficult to believe that either his death or his life is going to make a large difference in the world. It's over. He's gone. It's done. It's finished. They're just some memories. It's time to get back to normal, but the grief and loss are palpable. One doesn't invest 3 years of one's life following someone, loving someone, listening to someone, and when they die, walk away unscathed. It just doesn't happen that way. Oh, they heard the rumors that the tomb is empty and somebody probably stole him. And you know those women, God love them. God love them. Always full of wild stories. You just can't always believe them, can you? Because that kind of thing's never happened before. That kind of thing doesn't happen. Those reports that he's alive, silly talk, wishful thinking. There's nothing left for them to do where they are. So where do they head? They head for Emmaus. Where's Emmaus? It's 7 miles. We're not quite sure where it is. But all of us have been there. All of us have been on that road. The main thing is it's a way, it's a distance from what's happened. It's an escape. You know where Emmaus is. You've been there, haven't you? We can go to Emmaus when we go to a movie. Or you can go to Emmaus by drowning yourself in alcohol or some other chemical to deaden the pain, to get away from it for a little while. Some of us go to Emmaus by reading, perhaps even writing a book. Some get to Emmaus by getting in a car, a train, a bus, a boat, a plane, and go as far and as fast as they can away from that unbearable situation. And others go to Emmaus by going to South Park and buying things and trying to fill that hole that just won't be filled. And believe it or not, you can even go to Emmaus by going to church. Imagine that. The bottom line is it's trying to fill that hole in our lives with things that won't fill that hole in our lives. Frederick Buechner reminded us Emmaus is whatever we do or wherever we go to make ourselves forget that the world holds nothing sacred. It's where you go when you're trying to forget your troubles. It's where you go to lick your wounds. It's where you go when you just want to escape the pain for a moment. For after all, they've followed a failure, and that reality is sinking in. They head for that familiar place, Emmaus. Bereft of all hope, the end, it's ended with a whimper, suffering, death, and silence. But the text reminds us that as they continue walking and talking, Jesus comes near them. But the text reminds us their eyes were kept from recognizing him. He's a stranger. I'm not even sure he is welcome. You know, when I'm having a conversation with a friend and some stranger comes into the conversation, it changes the dynamics. But they put up with him. They just can't believe he's so ignorant about what's happened. What do you mean you don't know? How many times have you and I missed Jesus in our midst because we haven't opened our eyes, our hearts? We haven't made ourselves vulnerable to see Jesus in our midst. Yes, in some of the most unlikely places and unlikely people. When you do it to the least of these, Jesus says, you do it to me. Not for me, not with me, but to me. Will you see Jesus this morning? Will you see Jesus this week? I may have told this to some of you, but I have a son-in-law, and if you have a son-in-law, you know that you believe your daughter could have done much better, but it wasn't your choice. And my son-in-law said, you've got to go to Hardee's. Their bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit is way better than Bojangles. And so I took him up on that. I was on my way to the office. I was serving a church in Anderson, South Carolina. I stopped at the Hardee's. There was a pretty good line. I don't know if everybody had heard the same thing that I'd heard, but there was a pretty good line. And the fellow in front of me wasn't, very well dressed. Turned around and started chatting with me, just chatting me up. And I thought, oh my word, he's going to ask me to buy his breakfast. He got to the front of the line, pulled out his billfold and $100 bill and turned to me and said, let me buy you breakfast. I miss Jesus because of my prejudices, because of my biases, because of my willful blindness. Think about that. I may be the only one in this room with those issues, but my guess is I'm not. Will you see Jesus this week? These two expect nothing. They see nothing. Resurrection isn't an option, not a possibility. After all, we know that once a person's dead, they're dead. That's what makes our grief so deep. That's what makes it last so long. That's why it takes up so much time and energy. It's the finality of it all. We never have another chance to sit with that person we love. Talk with them, tell them how much we love them, what a difference they've made in our lives. That's where these two men on the road to Emmaus are this morning. But it's exactly on that road that the risen Christ wants to meet you and me. Not with fireworks going off, not in a blaze of glory, but here and now at supper time when hope has died and day is dying. Verse 30 that Tony read. When Jesus was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. My body broken for you, the cup of salvation for you. He's alive. He's risen indeed. Perhaps you are in Emmaus or on your way this morning, and you're not just at the end of your rope. There's not a rope in sight, and you're just hanging by a thread. Will you see Jesus this morning? Will you let your guard down, your defenses? Will you set aside your biases, your prejudices, and open yourself to seeing Jesus? For if we're not willing to do that, our lives will be the endless darkness of Friday. But the good news this morning is that it is still Easter. The Lord has risen indeed. Will you see Jesus this morning? Will you?